Hey, what's going on, everybody? Robert Marzullo here from Ram Studio Comics. And today's video, I got some sketches here that I just kind of roughed out. This is a little bit of my warm-ups today. Here's my character Blackstone right there. And if you've seen any of my work on here, you probably know about him. But if not, it's my superhero-based comic, Blackstone Eternal. You can check that out on Indie Planet. And here's just some random sketches over here of practicing drawing just average people. Um, if you've been keeping up with my videos lately, I've been focusing a little bit more on that, just because I just feel that, well, I got to improve in all kinds of areas trying to be a comic book illustrator, but I need to be able to just draw everyday, ordinary scenarios and people. So that's where these sketches come in. I just kind of warm up and draw, a couple different face styles, maybe one smiling, one frowning, different hairstyles, whatever. In today's video, I'm going to show you me just inking. I'm probably just going to ink this guy on the right. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for you and talk about the process. And yeah, let me know what you think. And you know, we will get started. So I add a new layer. Uh, Generally, I would probably do one more pencil layer to make it a little bit more refined, to not have to do any kind of guesswork when I'm going to my inking stage here. But there's a lot to be said too for just kind of getting on with it and moving forward and not worrying too much about getting it really really outlined, I guess, and just let it be a little bit more free flowing at times. So I'm going to turn down the opacity on these layers pretty good to where it doesn't conflict with what I'm getting ready to do with the inks. So about right there is probably good. I kind of get it to where it's like blue lining on Bristol board, because that was the method I was used to before I went digital. So now I get the pen a little bit bigger size tip on that, where I can get a nice, thick to thin line like that if I need it. Okay, so generally what I do first when I start inking something like this is I generally go for my line, my outlining, but then also giving the outline good thick to thins, line weight it's called. So, like say the chin here where it comes in front of the rest of the jawline, I'll bring it to a point there, and I'll make this bottom line pretty bold so it makes like the chin protrude out away from the neck, or at least that's my way of thinking. Then I'll thin it back, then I'll thicken it again to the jawline, mainly because line variation makes the artwork more interesting. So sometimes you're doing it because you're trying to make something protrude outwards towards the viewer, towards the camera, however you look at that. Other times it's just to make your artwork look cool and different, and give it a bit of style. So all those things come into play when you do your ink work and your comic book design and drawing. Um, Sometimes it doesn't have any real meaning other than you just want something that looks pretty neat to look at. So, like those lines right there and the way that I did the cheek, I just do that because I think it looks cool. Does it? I don't know. You be the judge. I mean, I'm not sure that it does or doesn't, but it's my way of throwing my little bit of style in there and moving forward. So, all right. So here's that little bit of the ear popping out from the side, and the other real reason that you kind of incorporate all these different line thicknesses and stuff is because if you went around this entire thing with one consecutive line, it'd be very boring, very uninteresting to look at. So I constantly am feathering the lines as I'm putting it down, almost like I'm drawing, but since I know it's just an immediate, transition from black to white, the only thing that I can do to grade, how do you say it, gradate, to give it a gradient, to give it a transition, is to either do difference in thicknesses of the line or cross hatching, or shading in that way. So that's your way to give this some kind of form and some mass, is varying these lines in different ways. So a good rule of thumb is the bottom area that's facing away from the light is always going to have the darker, richer line, and then the areas that come up towards the light are going to break away and become non-existent. In fact, I know from some artists I've studied, they will actually try not to even incorporate any kind of lines towards the highest point to the light. So say for instance, I'll do this ear over here. Say the light is right here, which you should always kind of draw your light source, as you're working. Unless of course it's original, you don't want to ink, light source right on the side of your original maybe, but digital it's okay. So say that this was our, I don't think the ear is going to come that far into the jawline. 1 second here. Thank God for digital and being able to just erase my inks. So say right here where this would be the light source, a lot of guys will basically bleach that out or white that out and just break up the lines and do kind of that effect, and that signifies that there's a highlight there. And then the colorist comes in and showcases that a little bit more in the way that they color. It's kind of an arrow to them too, to say, hey, here's your highlight, work your magic with your color now. So a lot of comic book work, I do everything on my own right now, but a lot of times you're with a team, a production setup, and you're kind of giving little cliff notes to the next member of the team, saying, okay, here's what I was thinking here, now add your spin on it. And that's how some of these comics just get insanely good, because they work well, they gel together as a team, and they're able to put together a really nice project. And even when you're working by yourself, you still even leave those little notes so that when you come back to it after, say, you've been drawing all night long, and then you come in the next day to start working on your project again, you'd be amazed at how clear and different your vision is the next day on that project. Sometimes better, sometimes you forget what you were thinking on it. So it doesn't even hurt to leave yourself little notes, to go, oh yeah, that's what I was thinking right here. I forgot I had that idea, 3 o'clock in the morning when I was working on this thing, and I got tired and fell asleep at my art table, which that didn't really happen, but it could. It very well could. Okay, so yeah, just keep kind of going through and picking out these lines, and you see I'm not staying exactly true to the initial sketch. You want to, in my opinion, make it better each time you add another layer, all the way to your final inks. You want to keep adding a little bit more to that piece and to that artwork. So I'm not going to just trace the lines that were already there, because if I see something that stands out as being wrong, or I can make it a little bit better, that's what I'm going to do. So, and a lot of people have thought or spoke about inking and called it tracing or whatever, and it's really not. It's adding a lot of style to the lines underneath. A good or a bad inker can make or break the artwork for sure. They can add a totally different spin on the artwork. So if it was tracing, they would just simply recreate it with the same line work, and that would be it. But it's not that. It's adding style and dimension to the artwork. And you see a lot of this I left really loose because I know I was just going to come back and ink it myself, so there's no reason for me to fill in every little last detail, where you would want to do a little bit more of that. Maybe if you were passing it off to somebody and you hadn't been working with them for a while. Like, I know a lot of good artists that have inkers they've worked with for years and years. They can leave big openings in notes in their work, and that inker will know exactly where to go with that. But if you're, say, just getting on board with a specific inker and you haven't worked with them, or you don't know much about them, then you might tend to give them tighter pencils until you you guys kind of figure each other out. So, but I'll tell you, there's nothing cooler than, you know, seeing different people's takes on your artwork when they do ink it. I've been fortunate enough to see that a few times over the years with my work, and it's really enjoyable. It's a cool thing to see. I've even had a couple people do work over top of mine on DeviantArt, and I thought that was really neat. You know, I just randomly, you know, like posting stuff, and then somebody would go, "Hey, do you mind if I ink this or color it?" Yeah, check it out, try it, have fun with it, and then you get it back, and it's like, wow, that is really cool, just to see somebody's take on it, and it's a huge compliment too that they liked your work enough to sit there and dink around with it and put their own spin on it. I was pretty tickled when that happened. I thought it was pretty neat. So you see, I'm not sticking to those lines. You know, I'm using them as reference for sure, but I'm not staying true to them that much. I'm just kind of filling it in, giving this guy a funky hairdo here. I don't know if anybody's hair would just kind of wave over like that, but whatever. Just having fun with it. And then as I break away from the darker, deeper blacks, I just kind of break it off into thinner line work, and that's my way to show transition or, you know, shading. You know, at the same time trying to give the hair a little bit of texture. Sorry, sound like a hairdresser. Trying to texture the hair. Now I'm just trying to give it a little bit of, you know, a little bit of something there instead of a bunch of blank white space there. So that's the other thing that you really want to be leery of when you do this stuff, is knowing when to add like a lot of thick, heavy black, and then when to just texture or just leave well enough alone. It's a nice, you know, you definitely see a difference when somebody knows, you know, when to put that texture in or when to put those thick blacks in and stuff like that. It really makes the artwork. So you can easily overdo it. One of my problems has always been over rendering. I really like rendering. I really like creating the cross hatching and the line work. So, and, you know, you'll see that in some of my work if you go check it out on Deviant, or you see more of it here on my YouTube channel. I tend to over cross hatch at times because it's fun. You know, I really like doing it. So it's hard to know like when to stop. Like I'm a, you know, rendering junkie or something, and you know, just sometimes I just really have a good time with it. But it's being able to step back and look at the art and go, okay, this works here. You know, less is more sometimes. Let me take some of this away. Okay, so now the eyes. Now, tricky part about doing eyes is getting, you always want to make sure the top, in my opinion, you know, I always want to say in my opinion because I'm definitely not the master here, but I just want to share my opinion. I always think that it looks better if you have a deeper line at the top, you know, showing the shadow that you would get from that top eyelid that does have some weight to it. And then let me show you here. And then when doing the eyeball, the retina, I really gotta look this word up. I don't even know what these are called, but your eyeball, you know. Sorry, I should probably know this stuff if I'm gonna do these videos. This top part you want to shadow in like this, right? That's important to show that. And then you kind of get in there and start doing your little tiny lines, however many of those you want to add. Some people like to really texture that out. Other people just do a couple little lines and call it good. But it's important to make that top shadow heavier and then that shadow on the colored part of the eye. And then you can come back with your little highlight and do like that, and booyah, you know, you kind of have a cool little quick eyeball there. So, and you see how it started out pretty, you know, I had the shadow in there, but I added a lot more by the time I brought it over to this. Now let me go ahead and finish this out. And just little details, you know, break up the lines. You don't really want to get in the habit of tracing around the entire features. You want to break up your lines a lot. It adds a little bit more flavor to the artwork. again, it's the same thing as the varying line weight that you're trying to do when inking, but breaking up the lines, like right there, I'm going to break that up, start thick here, break that up. It shows that, well, right here where the line's just a little bit heavier, that would be more in shadow. So there's more depth or shadow there on that part of the eye. So that's all you're really doing. You're just trying to convey that with these little lines there, but it's real easy to just go fast and trace the entire thing, and then maybe not get as interesting of a look. So a little pupil there. I think that's the pupil. God, I gotta go back to school. Something's wrong with me. I don't even know if that's called a pupil. I think it's because when I'm drawing, I'm maybe using the other side of my brain. I don't know if that's accurate either, but I can't walk and chew gum, and I can barely draw and talk at the same time. In fact, I oftentimes will accidentally bite my tongue while drawing. No, not really, but it could happen. Alright, so I don't think I want to get too heavy into shadows here on this face. Maybe a couple little, like, I like doing stuff like this, show the roundedness of the chin right there, maybe a little bit of the cheek right there, just tiny little lines, nothing too, crazy. Sometimes if I'm drawing the light source, again we got LS over there for the light source, I might do like something like this real quick. Is that right? No, hold on. Let's try it more like that. No, I don't like that either. I guess I would do it like this, and sometimes I'll just kind of trace out the form a little bit, and then I'll put like these little lines, and that'll just kind of show that there's a highlight to that side of the face. But I'm not digging that either. So, but you get the idea anyway. So let me finish inking the rest of this guy real quick. Another cool thing to do, you see how I tried to do a little thick to thin line there. Oh. And then once I get to this part again, maybe thick again, and then out to thin, or vice versa. Let me try it the other way. But the part I wanted to say is right there, where if I want this shoulder to look like it's coming in front of the character, and then his chest muscle in front of the character, in front of the trapezoid right there, which it does. So then I draw that in front a little bit. Same thing over here. I draw this muscle in front, connects to the chest goes in front of that, maybe a little bit thicker line, and that's how you start building that form out a little bit. So sorry, that's what I was trying to explain, just how to quickly make those forms overlap in front of one another, just like how the neck is in front of the trapezoid there with a nice thicker line. Then maybe some little lines right here, even though I got the shadow from the jaw under there, and that way you get the effect that the chin is out the furthest, the neck next, then the trapezoid, and that's how you build your depth up and place shapes in front of shapes and get your forms going. Now another thing you can do, I've mentioned this before in my other inking videos. If you've checked them out, cool. If not, shame on you. Please check them out. Please like, please subscribe. Help a brother out, because I do like to keep these videos coming out. So the more people like and subscribe, that does help me out. So I think I drew that shirt kind of funky, didn't I? Yeah, I think I did. So round that out this way. Seeing how quick that one little line going in the wrong direction can change it. That still isn't right, but for speed's sake, I'm gonna go ahead and go with that. And oh, the thing I wanted to show you with the chin, to make this protrude out further, take the white right here, bring that back over to here, and real quick you can kind of throw this white line in there, and see how that just pops that form out a little bit more. I don't think I would go across here. Let me try it. Yeah, I don't like that. just leave it right there. And if I wanted to, I may even come back and trace that white line just a hair. Almost like it better without, but I'll go ahead and leave it. So what that does, let's zoom back and see if that worked. Yeah, it just gives that chin another little layer of separation to to bring that form out. So alright, so let me ink that shirt real quick, and I'll probably call it good. I'm not going to go ahead and ink all the pieces of the sketch. I just wanted to go ahead and show it to you, and I wanted to give you a little inking demonstration. You see it's nothing really too spectacular. I don't got a whole lot of method to my madness. I didn't do a bunch of cross hatching here, but it's the same idea as everything else I did here. You just use thick to thin lines. You kind of brush stroke them to where they they feather out. At least I do a lot of feathering, and then cross hatch them into different textures and effects. I mean, you really just practice that. Like I practice that on the back of sheets of paper just when I'm bored, and then that way when I go to shade stuff, I got all these different methods and styles of cross hatching, and there's just so many different ways you can do it. You just kind of have to keep playing with the idea. Like here, I guess I can do it a little bit right here. And this is without me barely feathering. I'm just simply using the pressure sensitivity of the pen to get a nice thick to thin line, and then you cross hatch it. That's cross hatching, and then you can mix that up as many times as you want with different variations of lines and different directions. And then you mix in a little bit of stippling, pointillism, and that's about it. And I do have videos on that, so be sure to check that out on the channel. If you got any questions, one of the things I pride myself on with these videos is responding. Now, I can't say that if this channel ever does take off in a big way that I'll be able to keep that promise, but my goal is to do that. So I am very much here to help other artists. It's not it's not just me trying to make a few bucks on YouTube. So if you guys have any questions, feel free, just put it in there. I will respond back as quickly as possible, and if I do get really busy and this thing does take off, then I will at least do like responses, maybe blanketed responses or something like that. But until that happens, no worries. I'm here to help out. So I actually really enjoy interacting and answering these questions, because I know it was hard for me when I was coming up in art to get questions answered about comic books, and it seems to be like this mysterious place and market, and it's so hard for people to, unless you go to the shows. The shows are really the best way to really interact and get to know the industry and people and ask all these questions. But it was so hard for me to get that information coming up and growing up into comics, and I just want to make sure that I help other people that might be struggling with that to get that information, and not make it such a mysterious and hidden secret or whatever. So yeah, so anyways, there's my inking of that character. Just a standard kind of standard dude that you might draw in comics, and nothing too special, nothing too intricate. But you got to remember, you're not always just going to be drawing studly superheroes and hot chicks. You gotta just draw regular people, and and every now and then draw a guy with a shiny head and tentacles coming off his back, because he might be at your local convenience store one day. So it's good to draw those kind of people. So yeah, you never know. But anyways, this is Robert Marzullo from Manga Studio Comics. I thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this has helped you, and be sure to like and subscribe and share the videos, and more on the way. And let me know what videos you'd like to see, and that's what I will bring you. Thanks very much. Keep drawing, keep having fun. Bye bye.